Hello everyone, welcome to IAS Baba's 60-day plan rapid revision series. So friends, as we keep on saying, so knowledge is no further aside. If you have that determination, dedication to achieve anything, so not only civil service exam, with anything, so you can achieve so with minimum efforts and expenses. So you might be some very humble background, you might be some various backgrounds. So make the best use of it. Okay, so that is why we are going with the free initiative here, and here we begin the day 1 of the 60-day plan rapid revision series. The last year we regret that some of the economics questions were from the static part and we concentrated towards the dynamic part, the current affairs part. So this year again we try for some 25, 30 plus hit ratios from the rapid revision series. So we begin the first one, the polity. So we don't waste time just by reading these topics. So these are the polity, chapter 1, chapter 2, okay, so of the constitution and the history of our constitution. So in that, how we will revise? See friends, the polity questions are going on with the conceptual part. So you can take the parole question of 2021 prelims, or you can take the judicial custody question. So where the concepts rule the roost. So we will make sure that both concepts and facts, they are given equal importance. So whenever it comes for the facts, it is like we will go for cross check. So how the legislature evolved. So all those clauses which are specific only for legislature, we will take up and revise at one go. And then how federalism evolved. So that we will do in one go. So likewise, we go on with the revision and concept. We will discuss by taking various examples. Okay. So we will begin. First one is the evolution of legislature. So here how the legislature evolved. So we know that in the 1773 Registration Act, the Executive Council, that is the 4-member Executive Council, was set up, and this formed the alma mater of both executive and legislature for India. So whatever we have the Council of Ministers and whatever we have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, so these were the harbingers and they were hidden within this. And then in the 1853 Act, 6 new members were added to this council. So it is like 6 plus 4 members became now, and these 6 members, they were called the Governor General's Legislative Council. So whenever it comes the Legislative Council, so it was formed in 1853. So we will remember that. So this is the Indian Parliament primitive. So this is the primitive step towards Indian Parliament. So here out of these 6, 4 members were from the provinces. So from these 4 provinces, 4 members came. So that means that, so this is a representation of Rajya Sabha. So we know that Rajya Sabha, the state's representation is given. So here it is like the birth of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha took place in 1853. So that we will revise here. Okay. Then after that, okay. So in 1861, the restoration of legislative powers to Bombay and Madras presidencies. So this was the birth of state legislatures. So members of legislative assembly, the MLA elections. So that was with this one, 1861. And then in the 1892, so increased the number of additional members. Okay. So the numbers started increasing from here on in every act. Okay. So in every Councils of India Act, the numbers started increasing and more powers were given. So in the 1892, along with the increase, so the power of discussing the budget, so that was also given here. So with these, we will move ahead. Okay. So in the Morley Minto reforms, so here it is the increase the size of legislative councils for a great number. So here we have an increase from 16 to 60. Okay. And here there was a first attempt for representative and popular democracy. So representative and popular democracy means elections. So that was introduced for the first time here. And then, so here the official majority was retained. So even though the legislative council came up, but the elected members, they didn't have the majority. So that is why they didn't have the voice. But however, there was a ray of hope when the supplementary questions, so they were allowed to be asked for these members. Okay. And also resolutions on the budget. Okay. So these are some of the points. So UPSC hadn't asked any questions on these, but we don't know what UPSC does in the next. So we will remember it as much as possible. Then the Montagu-Chenford reforms for the first time. So it introduced bicameralism. So here the full-fledged formation of the upper house and the lower house, that came into picture. And here majority of the both houses, were chosen by election. So here came the elected majority. So here the Montagu Chevron reforms, it gave majority to Indian members. Then the evolution of separate electorates. So that was evolution of the legislature. So we started from the Governor General's Executive Council and we ended till the upper house and the lower house. So here the Montagu reforms. So that introduced for the first time the communal representation. Okay. So here the separate electorate for Muslims, and here the act also says that there was a separate representation given for presidency corporations, chamber of commerce, universities and zamindars. So here we don't know whether separate representation, whether it is a separate electorate or not. But however, whenever there is a separate representation given, say for example, chamber of commerce are given separate representation. So it is like, so only those members they will vote. So not others will vote. So we can take that the separate representation is also equivalent to a separate electorate. So overall, the separate electorate was given in the Parliamentary reforms for Muslims and presidency corporations, chamber of commerce, universities and zamindars. Okay. And here we also remember the separate representation a bit. And then the Government of India Act 1919. So that extended the separate electorate for 6 Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. So now the religious representation got extended. So what was there only for Muslims? So that was for all these religions. So now the separate electorate is for Muslims, these and these. Okay. So we will remember this now. And then, so friends, here whenever we are speaking all these things, we will apply these things to the previous year's questions, how UPSC has asked a question. Okay. So now Ramsay MacDonald Communal Award. So here it is like the award not only continued the separate electorate for all these religions, but it also extended for the depressed classes. So we know that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was instrumental in this. And so now it is like even Hindus, the depressed class people in Hindus, so they were given, although the depressed class people are present in other religion also, but here majority we take it as likewise. Then Government of India Act further extended the principle of communal representation by providing separate electorates for the depressed class, women and the labor. Okay, women and labor section were given the separate electorate. So here friends, it is like the separate electorate doesn't mean the universal adult franchise. So there was a question in 2021 prelims, like all women were allowed to vote. So that universal adult franchise is not given in this. So it is not saying that universal world, or it is not saying that all women were given the votes. Okay. So women were given some separate electorates. So we will see about that universal adult franchise later. So as of this slide, we will make sure that the communal award, so it was for all these people. Okay. Then coming to next. So evolution of federalism. So how federalism evolved. The 1853 Charter Act, so that introduced for the first time local representation in the Central Legislative Council. We discussed that this was the first step for Rajya Sabha. Friends, Rajya Sabha is nothing but the state's voice. So although Rajya Sabha is not acting as the state's voice now, but it is the state's voice in center. So this is the Rajya Sabha. And then 1861 initiated the process of decentralization by restoring the legislative powers for Bombay and Madras. So here the legislature of the state got into existence, and this is the true federalism came into picture in 1861 when some of the states were given the power to rule, and this was again extended, okay, when the legislative assemblies were established in the Bengal, Northwest Frontier Province and Punjab, etc. Okay, so now in the 1861, so federalism came into existence in a full-fledged manner. Then come to next. So features of 1892. So it provided for nomination of some non-official members to the provincial legislative councils by the governor on the recommendation of district boards, municipalities and universities. So when we speak about the district boards and municipalities, so this is the third tier government. Okay, so here the local self-government came into picture. So again friends, federalism So this is a conventional word which includes only center and state. But the third tier federalism, whenever we speak, the third tier federalism, so that includes center, state and local self-governments. Okay. So we will be careful when we speak of these ones. Okay. So don't worry about the prelims one. UPSC will not create such controversies by giving federalism word and including the center, state and also local in those options. Okay. So UPSC's questions will be very cut and clear. So if there is one statement wrong in the UPSC, you can write one page of a reason why the statement is wrong. So make sure that you will have the reason and then mark your options. Then features of 1909 allowed the provincial legislative councils to have non-official majority. So here the people's representation ruled the roost as per the Parliamentary reforms. Then Government of India Act 1919. So it further divided the subjects into two parts, the transferred and the reserved. Okay. So we have discussed and we already know what is a transferred and what is a reserved one. Okay. So these are the very basic minimum. Okay. We don't waste time in discussing those. Then it separated for the first time the provincial subjects from the central budget. Okay. So here in the budget also we have a demarcation. Okay. So with all these, so the federalism became more and more comprehensive and full-fledged as the time rolled down. And in 1935, it is a watershed moment when the All India Federation was established. Okay. So this All India Federation was given in the 1935. Okay. So however, the princely states, so they didn't appear here, but still apart from princely states, so there was the state governments established. And here we have to remember that the act divided the activity mapping. Various activities has to be taken up into three lists, that is federal, provincial and concurrent, and residuary with the viceroy. Okay. So this one not with the center but viceroy. Then however, federation never came into being as princely states did not join it. Okay. Then so whenever we remember 1935 Act, we also remember that in the 1937 elections did happen in the state legislatures in 1937 to 1939. So our people ruled the states, and in 1939 they resigned, and in 1939 Muslim League, so they celebrated Day of Deliverance. Okay, to show that INC was a failure. Okay, so we remember 1935, 37, 39 and Day of Deliverance. So this is evolution of federalism. So here remember the origin of Rajya Sabha, state government and this one, All India Federation. Then Parliamentary reforms. So here the basic features we discuss of various reforms, because Parliamento, Montagu formed and 1935 Act. So they have been asked many times. Okay. So here the Parliamentary reforms considerably increased the size of the legislative councils in the center. Okay. So 16 to 60. So this is in the center, and also in provincial also it increased. But in province the number was not a constant one. It retained official majority in the central legislative council. Okay. So but obvious, so official majority was there here. It provided for the first time for the association of Indians with the executive council. So this marked the first. So such firsts are the hotspots of UPSC. So here it is like for the first time the Indians were allowed to become ministers. So Viceroy's executive council means it is the today's council of ministers. Okay. So Satyendra Prasad Sinha, he became the law member. So we can say he was introduced as the law minister. Okay. So he became the first Indian minister. That too, he is the law minister. Then, so it introduced a system of communal representation. We got to know that. And then, so here the Lord Minto, known as the father of communal electorate. So as he introduced, he is the father. So this is a fact for history. Then moving forward, so Government of India Act 1919, the Montagu Chamfron reforms, what all did it give? It required that 3 of the 6 members of the Viceroy's Executive Council were to be Indians. Okay, so here even in the Council of Ministers or in the Executive Council, Indian majority. So Indians were majority ministers in the Viceroy's Executive Council. It granted franchise to a limited number of people. So mark this limited. So we are already in the 1919, and here the limited franchisee is present. So universal adult franchise never came. Then it created a new office of High Commission for India. Okay. So, but obvious, so this High Commissioner, he looked into Indian affairs. Then it provided for establishment of Central Public Service Commission. So, this is the birth of UPSC, and in 1926, UPSC was born, and in 2026, UPSC will celebrate its 100 years. Okay. So, in 2019, so the Act celebrated its 100th year. So, if you cross check like this, I don't think you will be having a problem in revision. Then it provided for the appointment of statutory commission to inquire into the report on its working after 10 years. So, this is the beginning of the Simon Commission. So, on the basis of this very clause, Simon Commission was appointed in 1927, and then what happened in the Simon Commission? So, all is a history by now. Then coming to the next, Government of India Act 1935. So, it abolished hierarchy in the provinces and introduced provincial autonomy in its place. So, here it is like abolishing hierarchy means, so there is no transferred and reserved subjects. So, everything is amenable to the state legislature. So, Governor General is not deciding anything without the consultation of the legislature. So, this means the provincial autonomy. So, abolition of this means the provincial autonomy. Then it provided for adoption of hierarchy at the center. So, now in the center, so some were started to be given to the public representatives. So, first time the hierarchy was abolished in the province, and then in the center some autonomy started to be given. Okay. So, we will take likewise. So, first both the non-official majority, and first here hierarchy, and then here hierarchy, here full autonomy. So, evolving of the Indian voices in the central and state governments. Then coming to next, it introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. Okay. So, when bicameralism came in the provinces, again it is the local self-government, because in the Vidhan Parishads, so it is mostly the district and the village representation which is there. And then it abolished the Council of India. Okay. So, and the Secretary of State for India was provided with the team of advisors. So, I don't think this will be a hardcore question in UPSC, because hardcore the legal terms, so those will be the more important. Okay. Then it extended the franchise. So, again adult franchise. So, this is a keyword which is more important. So, about 10% of total population got the voting right. So, even now universal adult franchise, never. So, after this only the 1947 Act we have. So, that means universal adult franchise came only after independence. So, whenever the statement gives like all women were allowed to vote, so it is a wrong statement. So, whenever UPSC gives a statement, that is present in all basic books. Okay, but the thing is that we fail to decipher that. So, once we have the talent to decipher, then prelims is a non-event for us. Then come to next, Government of India Act 1935. The highlights of this, it provided for establishment of a Reserve Bank of India to control. Okay, so this Reserve Bank of India also we will discuss. Okay, so this is also important. Then it provided for the Federal Public Service Commission, provincial and joint. So this is evolution of the UPSC. So UPSC was born in 1926, and now it evolved. Then it provided for establishment of Federal Court. So the birth of Supreme Court in 1937, and as per the 1935 Act. So these things we remember here. Then coming to next. Okay, so Union versus Territory of India. So friends, here these things will become important, because whenever we go for the constitutional amendment to exchange the enclaves, so we exchanged enclaves between Bangladesh and India. Okay, and whenever things happen like Indira Gandhi gave Kachativu Island to Sri Lanka, so whenever such things come, okay, so it is the matter concerned with Union and Territory of India. So a simple concept that Union of India, so this is only the states, but however Territory of India includes both the states as well as union territories. So it is that union territories, so they are the added ones here. So only a small concept that we had to discuss. If any question comes, like if we are going to exchange the territory, okay, so that is amended under the territory, that is the schedule coming under territory, that will not be harming the union. Okay, so union means only the states. So this, if you remember, that is enough here. And then comes constitutionalism or the limited government. Friends, these questions, they have come more than 3 times. The word constitutionalism has come more than 3 times in the UPSC prelims. So what is it? So all the options, they speak of only the limitations, but constitutionalism is not just a limitation given. So it is the philosophy given by constitution, powers given by constitution, and also the limitations given by the constitution. So when we say philosophies, see, for example, India is running under secularism, India is running under socialism. So we are complying the constitution because these values, socialism, secularism, are present in the very constitution. So the values are given by constitution and powers. So constitution is giving the power for president to appoint various public officials, and constitution is giving the power for parliament to enact various laws. Constitution is giving the power for judiciary to come up with the judicial review. Okay, so powers and then limitations. Limitations, we know, all fundamental rights, they come under the limitations to the state. So whenever constitution provides all these, so they are nothing but the constitutionalism only. So we approach the question on these lines, and from now on, no more mistakes. Then parliamentary system and responsible government. So here again, so what is a parliamentary system? That also we have to remember. So many questions have come on this. So I am being seeing these questions for last 10 years. So parliamentary system and elections. So does the election constitute a parliamentary system? Say for example, China conducts election. The Communist Party of China conducts election. So can we say it as a parliamentary system? So Chinese government is not a parliamentary government. It is a communist government. Okay. Then the parliamentary system and constitution. So everyone which have a constitution, are they parliamentary? No, there can be some parliamentary governments even do not have a constitution. Say for example, UK doesn't have a written constitution. So all its government runs through magazines. So we have learned the king is dead, long live the king. So such things again show that written constitution is not a criteria for the parliamentary system. And then parliamentary system and republicanism. So are all republics parliamentary governments? No. Say take for example US. US is a presidential form of government. So here also president is an elected head. So the very definition of republicanism is an elected head. So when he is an elected head, so it is a republican, but it is not parliamentary system, it is a presidential system. Then the responsible government and the parliamentary system. So this is true parliamentary system. For example, if you have a parliament and from the same members of the parliament, if you are taking the council of ministers, or if the executive is appointed from the same council, so but obvious it is parliamentary system. So parliamentary system always comes with that very word, that is responsible government. So remember that one. Okay, so any word unique for this, any word synonymous to this, only such words you will take as the meaning of parliamentary democracy. Then the federalism versus unitary system. So constitution provides various clauses which say that India is a federal system. At the same time, there are several other clauses. So here we will see the first one, elected representatives to Rajya Sabha. It is a federalism because they are the voices of the state. So although they are not the voices of the state, they are the voices of party high command. We know that. Then the regional party members in the cabinet. So this was UPSC statement. So how a regional party member in the cabinet, that can be an indication of federalism. Say for example, cabinet is not defined in the constitution. Okay. So but in the cabinet, if I am accommodating someone from the state, okay, so it means that I am listening to the voices of the state. So listening to the voices of the state, whenever a council of ministers listen to the voices of state, it means there is a proper center-state coordination. Center-state coordination is nothing but the very essence of federalism. Okay, so that is why this statement, so it happens to be an indication of federalism. Then president and governor, but obvious, president is at the top, governor at the state, so it is federalism. Then presence of state legislature, so Vidhana Sabhas, okay, so they are again the legislature, sorry, federalism. Then 7th schedule. So 7th schedule also. So 7th schedule, the union list, state list and concurrent list, federalism. Then the Supreme Court and High Court, these are not federalism. So High Court is not a subordinate court to the Supreme Court, and High Court and Supreme Court, they are integrated. So once you have an issue with the judgment of High Court, you can always appeal the Supreme Court. Okay, so here we have an integrated judiciary. Here we never have a federal judiciary. Okay, so most of the persons, when the question was asked, which of the following is indication of federalism, you hit this. Okay, so independent judiciary is not an indication of federalism. Then elected representatives to Lok Sabha. So here again, whenever people are elected for Lok Sabha, so it is like it is a direct election. It is a unitary system. It is not federalism. So federalism doesn't come into picture. Then local self-governments. So local self-governments will be only a third tier federalism. So if you consider local self, so UPSC has to mention it as third tier federalism. Else the word federalism, so that was a very old concept. So when that came, these third tier governments were not there. So federalism per se will not include so these ones. Okay, so make sure that these things you will remember. Then come to next, separation of powers and checks and balances. Friends, the very first thing I want to say here is, so unlike we study in the basic books, the checks and balances are not antagonistic to separation of powers. So checks and balances are not opposing the separation of powers. They are actually complementary to that. Say for example, if you have a proper separation of power, so this separation of power will sustain only if we have a proper check and balance. Say for example, if we have a watertight separation, so if we have watertight separation between legislature, executive and judiciary, then no one will be checking each other. Corruption breeds and such a separation of power will come down. So such a state will never sustain for long. So checks and balance are necessary for the sustenance of separation of powers. So the separation of powers come with check and balance, and checks and balance come with accountability. So whenever there is a check and balance, I am accounting someone else and I am being accounted by someone else. Okay. Then the separation of powers and autonomy. So if there is a separation of power, is there an autonomy? Yes, I have an autonomy. So although I am being checked, but no one is encroaching on me, no one is overlapping with me. So here there is some autonomy. So autonomy, check and balance, they go in hand. They balance, only then the separation of powers will exist. Then separation of powers and the constitutionalism. So if separation of power is written in the constitution, so in Indian constitution, separation of power is written in various ways. So we have Article 50, let the judiciary be independent. So that is the separation of power. So again, separation of power if written in constitution, so that happens to be constitutionalism, because something as per constitution is constitutionalism. Then separation of powers and liberty. So this statement was given in UPSC prelims. Say the liberty of the people can be upheld with the proper separation of powers. So how the liberty of people can be upheld? Say for example, if we have Parliament which is enacting the laws which curbs the liberty of the people, there is always a judiciary which is separate from this, and it will curb such law with the help of judicial review. So if there is a separation of power, there will be a check and balance, and that check and balance so will uphold the liberty. Okay. So likewise, on the basis of various conceptual analysis, we will approach to the final answer. So remember, check and balance are complementary to separation of powers, not antagonistic. Then reorganization of states. So here we have three committees: SKDR committee, JVP committee and Fazal Ali committee. So here what we have to revise is the SKDR committee. It said that the reorganization of states on the basis of administrative convenience, language will never come into picture. And that was continued in the JVP committee. They formally rejected language as the basis. But after this, there was a huge hue and cry, and state leaders demanded for the linguistic based states. And then Fazal Ali committee said the language as the basis of reorganization, but not one language, one state. So for every one language, we won't give one state, it becomes splintered group. But we can take it as basis. So now, as per Fazal Ali Committee, language is one of the basis of reorganization. It is not the only. Okay, so it is not the only basis. It is one of the basis. Okay, so apart from that, Fazal Ali Committee gave many other recommendations. So all these things we can go through here. Okay, so coming to next, the domicile versus citizenship. Okay, so here we will discuss what is the difference between NRC, then NPR, and then domicile. Okay, so we should have absolute clarity with this. Okay, so whatever facts written here, you will always go through. So National Registry of Citizen means you have to be a citizen of India. So we know that we can attain citizenship of India with the help of birth, naturalization, then descent, then acquisition of territory, all those things. So only those criteria, so they are included under this. So hardcore citizen you have to be if your name has to come under the NRC. Then NPR means any resident who is residing in an area within 6 months. So they come under National Population Register. So this National Population Register, this has nothing to do with the citizenship. So whoever resides in India and within that 6 months, so he will be under this. What is domicile then? Domicile is something with respect to property ownership. Okay. Okay. So here it is like if you have to be a domicile, then so you have to be eligible for owning the property and you have to be eligible for employment in that state. So domicile is that which comes with the property ownership and employment, and this NPR, the National Population Registry, only the residents, and NRC, hardcore citizenship. So now we will discuss the J&K domicile rules. So this has also come 1 year back. So it is also worth discussion. So anyone who has resided for a period of 15 years, so this gives 15 years as the criteria, and here it is like there are several other criteria like if you have passed 10th or 12th in any J&K school or college, okay, and if you are a son of All India Service Officer or a Central PSU officer who has served there, okay, and for a period of 10 years, okay, so if they have served there, then you will become the domicile of that state. Okay, so there are several criteria. So what conceptually we have to remember is that, so the NRC is the most stringent one, and then comes the domicile, and the last is the NPR. So it is easy to become a resident, bit difficult to become domicile, and more difficult to attain citizenship. Okay, so and here the domicile law also gives about eligibility for employment. It says that domicile will be eligible for the purpose of appointment to any post or pay scale not more than the level 4. Okay, so level 4 and below, so those are only for the domiciles. Only for those native people, the level 4 and below jobs are kept. So this is basically for welfare purpose. So those people, at least we have to give them such posts in a reserved category. Above them, anyone can come and take it. So at least that one they have been added. Then come to next, justiciability of ideals of the Constitution. So here the ideals of the Constitution written in preamble, justice, liberty, fraternity, equality. So are they justiciable in court of law? No, they are not justiciable in the court of law. But the judgment can involve such words. Okay. So in other words, these ideals cannot be the sole clauses on which the judgment can be given, but they can be one of the clauses on which the judgment can have some support. So they are only the supportive clauses, they are not the sole legal clauses. So that much if you remember, that is sufficient here. So justiciability, and here we have some of the cases. Okay, so here in this DS Nakara case, socialism was taken as the supportive clause. Here also socialism supportive clause, socialism supportive clause. So it is the supportive clause, not the sole clause. Okay, so then come to next, getting and losing the citizenship. Friends, we have seen Mehul Choksi and Vijay Mallya going to abroad and coming back. Okay, so now, so what makes the government to terminate a citizenship, and whether we can renounce the citizenship on our own. So all those things we will discuss here. So before going to that, basic acquisition of Indian citizenship. So by birth, descent, registration, naturalization. So all these ways we can acquire a citizenship. And the Citizenship Amendment Act, so this gives citizenship only by naturalization. So if any question comes, so mark this. So that citizenship provided under the Citizenship Amendment Act is only pertain to naturalization. So here under naturalization, earlier you had to stay for 11 years to attain this. So now it is only 5 years. So by staying in India for 5 years, and if you are belonging to these community and from these nations, so but obvious you will get the citizenship by naturalization. So now our question with context of Vijay Mallya and Mehul Choksi. So it is like the renouncing of citizenship. So can I commit a crime here and can I renounce the citizenship and can I go abroad and settle? So here it is like when it comes to renunciation, if an Indian citizen wishes and if he is of full age and capacity, so full age and capacity, so this is the word which is important here. Say like if you are the full age, so but obvious your brain will be mature. But if you are a minor and someone can pressurize you to renounce, so that is not possible. Next, capacity. So you should be capable to renounce a citizenship. Okay. So if I have committed a crime, if I have committed some terrorist activities here, so I am not in a capacity to renounce that citizenship. So this full age and capacity comes as a clause that hinders Mehul Choksi and Vijay Mallya to renounce Indian citizenship and go and settle abroad. And then other ways of renunciation. So like here we have the minors. Okay, so they can come back after attaining 18. So all these are not required for us. This full age and capacity required. And then termination. So here termination of citizenship. So it is like a person can only be a citizen of one country. So if we attain the citizenship of another country, but obvious in India we lose our citizenship. So this comes into picture whenever we speak of refugees. See, when refugees come, okay, so the UNHRC, so Human Rights Commission will come and give the refugee cards. So refugee cards means so that this nation has signed the refugee convention and those refugees are akin to citizens. So they can take any benefits. So now that refugee card is acting as something as a dual citizenship card. So that India doesn't want to. So that is why India is not signing that principle of non-refoulement and the refugee conventions of United Nations. So for us, whichever required for the current affairs, only these things we take here. Okay, and then deprivation by the government. So when and all government itself can sever citizenship. So here, if a citizen has disrespected the constitution or if he has obtained it by fraud or the citizen has unlawfully traded, so if he has helped enemy in the wars and if he is a criminal during the time of attainment of citizenship. So if within 5 years of registration or naturalization, a citizen has been sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment in any country. So if he is already a criminal, so government can say you cannot come. This is again to stop criminals entering the border. Okay, so these are some of the things which I had to discuss. So be selective and take only the conceptuals and current issues in the news. Okay, then coming to the last part, friends, again, many of you have left your career and you have come to the civil service exam, but make sure that you give first preference to the passion. Okay, so hunt your passion, love the people and live for the people. And if you love the people, people will give you immense. People will give you so many things that your career has never given you in the past, you will never give in the future, and it has never given in the present. So make sure that you do that and live a successful life. All the very best. Good luck, friends.